which should include all the details, the time cycle, the equipment, the people. All these details should be there in the method statement, and all these are to be approved by the engineer in charge. And other important thing is rate of paving, the concrete paving, not to be less than 60 meter per hour. Okay, and this rate of paving or the paving speed, the paver speed should be planned such a way that that the paving operation meets this 60 meter per hour requirement. It can be more, but generally not to be less than 60 meter per hour. The idea is this one of the reason why this minimum speed is, we get lot of joints. What is paving actually? Paving is a continuous operation. The moment we stop paver, we get a joint or we get a weak plane, weak surface. So that is the idea, whole idea. Theoretically, ideally speaking, you start the work, don't stop the work till the work get over or till your target is met for that day, provided if the weather, the supply of materials, all this meets. So that is the whole one of the important reason why the minimum speed is fixed. Otherwise, we get lot of joints, not desirable. So coming to the storage of cement and handling is concerned, normally the cement for the PQC is stored in large vertical silos, not in cement bags. They are stored in silos, vertical silos. Maybe for small projects, the bags can be used, cement bags can be used, but generally silos are used for all major projects. And other important thing is, whatever the cement we purchase, you using for the project, then not to be older than 3 months. 3 months. So the cement that we purchase should be used within 3 months. Then comes the storage and handling of aggregates. The aggregates are always stored on a surface of good surface having good drainage properties. So generally, ideally speaking, we should construct a sub-base layer. Over that, these aggregates which we use for the cement concrete pavement are to be stored. Why GSB? So that during rains, water will not stack there, stock there. It will go, it will move, it will flow. That is one. The second point, handling of aggregate is we store different sizes of aggregates, right? We are supposed to use different sizes of aggregates so that we meet the gradation. But each of these different size aggregates are to be stored separately, right? With proper partitions. One size of aggregate stock, other size of aggregate stock are to be properly partitioned. Otherwise, the aggregates, the mix sizes, different sizes mix with each other. And stocking of aggregates are concerned, it should be stocked in the horizontal layers, not in vertical heaps. It should be stocked in horizontal layers. The idea is, compared to the vertical heaping, the horizontal layers reduces the segregation. Otherwise, if it is a vertical heap, what will happen? Your smaller sizes aggregates remain in the top, and your larger size aggregates come to the bottom. So you find more segregation. If it is horizontal, the height is less and you have more space, so segregation will be less. So it should, aggregates always are to be stocked in horizontal layers. The dry fine aggregates are to be moistened on the surface. It should not be allowed to dry. The fine aggregates are to be moistened on the surface. Whenever we are using aggregates of from the old stock, stocked 2-3 months back, we should use it carefully. because there are every chances that stock would have contaminated with dust or other foreign undesirable matter. So always we should use uh, as and when aggregate comes, and avoid as far as possible stocking material uh, more than 2-3 months. So we know how to stock the materials, the cement and the aggregates, fine aggregates and coarse aggregates. Then comes how to batch these materials. Needless to say, all these materials are to be batched by weight, not by volume. Volume. So for this, weight of cement may be taken as 1,440 kg per cubic meter. Only in exceptional cases where it is unavoidable, we can go for volume batching. Volume batching maybe for small works or remote areas. Maybe this volume batching may be permitted as a special case, exceptional cases. Otherwise, we should always go for weigh batching. Weigh batching. So then comes mixing. Always we should ensure the mix is uniform. Color is also uniform. And mixer to be with the timer. Mixer to be with the timer for mixing period and discharge. So there should be, mixer should have a timer, right? And accurate measurement of water is also important for the reasons you know, right? But too much water causes lot of problems. Water more than the requirement. Speed of the drum, this mixing drum, not to be less than 15 revolutions per minute. The peripheral speed of the drum, that is outer speed of the drum, need to be greater than 60 meter per minute. Per minute. Per minute. When it comes to the time, mixing time, it should not be less than 1.5 minutes. 1.5 minutes. 1.5 minutes. After all the materials are discharged in the mixer, that 1.5 minutes starts after putting all your fine aggregates, cement and coarse aggregates. From then, at least the mixing should be carried out for a period not less than 90 seconds. So you have prepared the mix. Then transportation of the concrete. Transport the concrete using tippers. Tippers are only used maybe for a very patching or such things. We can use transit mixers. Transit mixers are those machines which you see for where transporting the cement concrete for this rooftop, residential buildings, right? That is transit mixer. So for road projects and all, it is tipper only, because you cannot feed the paver. You cannot feed the paver in transit mixers. That is one. Next thing is generally with the mix we use is of something like zero slump. A slump having 25 to 30, maybe up to 40. So you cannot pump the concrete. That is another problem. So generally, one is quantity, supply is difficult, otherwise the workability also. So hence for transportation of the cement concrete mix is always done in tippers. And as I said, paving is done in an uninterrupted way, ideally speaking, not to be stopped. Otherwise, the moment you stop, you get a joint, construction joint. Not only that, wherever paver stops, right, you get uneven surface and then weak mix, so many things. So paving to be done uninterrupted way. For small jobs for transportation, you can use wheelbarrows, maybe for maintenance or such things. So it should be for all road works, PQC, road projects, what you call, except for maintenance, you have to use tippers. So you have transported the concrete mix, then you have to place the concrete. You have to place the concrete. Time taken from addition of water to the mix, time taken from addition of water to the mix until the surface finish, the texturing, not to exceed 120 minutes when the temperature is less than 20 degrees. What does it mean? The moment you start mixing, in your batching plant, you add water to the materials. From time starts from then, and final operation, your texturing. Till then, from time of adding water to the time of texturing, the total minutes, total duration not to exceed 2 hours. 2 hours. That means to say all operations should get over within these 2 hours. When the temperature is less than 25 degrees. And when the temperature is more than 25 and less than 30, 25 to 30 degrees, it should not be more than 30 minutes. That means this 2 hours is allowed only when the temperature is less than 25. When the temperature is less than 30, so we cannot take more than 100 minutes. So that is the reason you see all the concreting work is done during night time. Night time, for one. And also, chilling plants are used so that to maintain the temperature of the mix, right? Right, that is one. And number three, we also use sheds in the site, a covering sheds, mobile covering sheds. Why? Again, to control the temperature. So these are all some exercise people do in the site to maintain the temperature, right? So in the case of semi-mechanized construction, where your semi-mechanized means when you are not using slip form paver, concrete paver, semi-mechanized construction, that means you have a screed, mechanical screed, right? Only screed. All other things are manual. Majority of the things. Only that spreading is done through the screed. That is semi-mechanized construction. Concrete shall be deposited between the forms. What is form work? On either side, the steel girders or wooden girders are placed, depending upon the height of the layer that we construct. So, when semi-mechanized construction is adopted, the concrete is placed between the the forms directly from the head loads or wheelbarrows, because the feeding, the supply for a semi-mechanized construction is less, so you can use wheelbarrows. Otherwise, if you are using a concrete paver, slip form paver, for spreading and all, we use what is called the backhoes. Ideally speaking, we should use the excavators, that is to spread the concrete in front of the paver. For a semi-mechanized construction, since the quantity requirement is less, maybe we can use wheelbarrows. Definitely, though head loads are mentioned in the MART specification, not desirable. So once the load is placed, the concrete is placed in front of the paver in a semi-mechanized construction, the distribution of this mix across the screed is done using shovels and rakes in a semi-mechanized construction. In case of a slip form paver, it is done using the backhoes. So backhoes means your JCBs across the width, right? And you'll also have the mechanism rakers in the paver itself, augers or sometimes the other mechanism, the buckets. So they themselves in front of the screed, the mix is spread. So for concrete is compacted using needle compactor. In case of semi-mechanized construction, the vibratory screeds are also used for compacting, right? Needle vibrators. There are different needles, hydraulic needles, electric needles. So depending upon ideally the electrical needles are better. And again, when you are compacting, the frequency comes into picture, vibrations. So all those things matters depending upon the workability, depending upon the thickness, right? So needle vibrators are used. The required surcharge on the slab thickness will be 20% of the slab thickness. That means the weight that we put uh, is 20% of the slab thickness. In case of two course construction, very rarely, or I have not seen, to be frank, but this also allowed two layer construction. That means when the thickness is more, when the concrete layer thickness is more, let's say, first we pay bottom layer, and then immediately the behind that the top layer is paved. That is called two course construction. Generally, when the thickness of the slab is more than 20 centimeter, here say, right? So bottom layer of the concrete shall be struck off to the required level by vibrating screed. Similarly, the screed used for the compaction of the final surface of the concrete. That means when you use the two-stage construction, the concrete bottom layer concrete needs to be struck off level, to be leveled using vibratory screed. So in this case of two course construction, the time lag between two layer, bottom and top layer, not to exceed the initial setting time of the concrete. Site forms, rails and guide wires. All this forum work for the concrete layer construction forms are to be mild steel. The depth of these mild steel forms is equal to the thickness of the pavement minus the tolerance stipulated for the lower layer. The formwork should be firm, secured and oiled before use. Shall not be removed before 12 hours. The formwork, centering, what we call centering or formwork. The length of forms should be laid for length anticipated for the next 24 hours. 24 hours. So much length should be fixed. So the formwork is set. Then comes the placement of your steel double bars and tie bars as per your drawing. So when it comes to the construction of concrete layer, there are two methods. One is construction by fixed form paver. The second one is slip form paver. So that means, what is that fixed form paver? Neither side we fix the formwork, the rails, and then we construct. Whatever we follow today, these days in all projects, is slip form paver. Slip form paver. What is the mechanized paver? So when it comes to the texturing generally done right angles to the longitudinal axis. People have done even along the longitudinal axis also in some of the project, but generally done, the texturing is done at right angles. So the brushed surface shall be applied evenly across the slab in one direction by use of the wire brush, not less than 450 mm wide, 3 meter length. The texture depth not to be greater than a maximum average of 1.25 mm. So in a semi-mechanized construction or a labor-oriented construction, all these equipments are required. Drum mixers of 0.2 cubic meter capacity, and number of such mixers depends on the quantum of work. Forums, steel channels or fabricated steels. If nothing is available, as a last resort, we can use wooden forms, vibrating screeds, needle vibrators, concrete saw for jointing, sprayers for spraying curing compound, brooms for texturing, straight edge of 3 meter for checking the surface profile, and tools for sealing the joints. Right, all these equipments are required in a semi-mechanized or whatever the labor-oriented construction. The vibrator screed amplitude not to be less than 1.5 mm, otherwise we may not get the required the compaction. The speed of travel not to be more than 0.6 meter per minute. Compaction of the screed shall be carried out till the mortar in the concrete mix just works up to the surface. Till what time we should use the screed? Till we see the mortar on the top surface, right? Before concrete gets hardened, that means still when concrete is in plastic stage, the concrete surface is inspected for any irregularities or profile using the templates, right? Straight edge and so on. So depending upon if there are any ridges or humps or any depressions, either we have to add or we have to remove the concrete, and then we have to compact and finish the surface, right? So then comes the floating. After concrete is compacted, the surface is smoothened by means of longitudinal floater. After concrete is compacted using the vibrators, the surface is smoothened by float. What is that float? Longitudinal float, of course. Here you might have seen masons use this for construction of the building, that float. But here longitudinal, bigger one. The longitudinal float shall be worked with a sawing motion while floating position held parallel to the carriage way. After floating, then we have to do straight edging. The slab surface is checked using a 3-meter straight edge. As I said, any area of depression is scooped to a depth of 4 to 5 centimeter and filled with a fresh concrete, then compacted and refinished the depression. At any point, the concrete shall not show a departure greater than 3 mm. At any place, if the concrete surface exceeds this value, not more than three passes of screed shall be allowed and surface is tested again, so that there are every chances that the surface, the departure may be get less than 3 mm. Still, if the irregularities exceeds 3 mm, what we have to do is we have to remove the concrete to a depth of 5 centimeter or up to the surface where the reinforcement, the steel rods are found, and then we have to put the fresh mix and compact and refinish it. So after that, texturing to be carried out. After texturing, it is edging we have to carry it out. After brooming is completed, edges of the slab shall be carefully finished with an edging or a rising tool of 3 mm radius, so that we get the edges in a proper way. So after edging, the surface is to be cured properly. There are 2 types of curing. Curing compound followed by wet azine or moisturizing it regularly. For small works, maybe curing is done manually, at least for a period of 7 days. So when it comes to the curing by application of curing compound, immediately after the texturing, the surface, the sides of the slabs is cured by application of approved resin-based aluminized reflective curing compound or a white pigmented curing compound which hardens into a impervious film or a membrane with the help of mechanical sprayer. Whatever the curing compound we use shall not react chemically or shall not crack or shall not disintegrate within 3 weeks after the application of this curing compound. The rate of spread of this curing compound is as per the manufacturer's instruction or recommendation. So the hexine shall not be removed at least for a 7 days. The gunny bags, whatever we put, moistening it, at least that should not be removed at least for 7 days. More than 7 days, excellent. So that is by curing compound. If you are curing by manual methods, the surface of the pavement shall be entirely covered with wet hexine cloth, minimum of 2 layers, not 1 layer. I have not seen 2 layers nowhere. So here the specification says 2 layers. Covering used shall be such a length or a width to an extent of at least 500 mm beyond the edges of the slab. Beyond the edges of the slab, 500 mm beyond the edges of the slab. And these hexine cloth to be fully wetted and in position for 24 hours after concrete has been placed. For cutting joint, concrete shall not be exposed more than half an hour. Means to say, just name of the cutting, jointing, don't take out this hexine and for a more period. So it should be your jointing should be carried out within half an hour, and immediately all exercise to be done and again need to be covered. So the strips shall have an overlap of at least 150 mm. One hexine cloth to another hexine cloth, the overlap of 150 mm is required. Upon removal of the wet covering at the end of 24 hours, slab shall be wetted and then cured by ponding. This is by mechanical, or you can even use sprinklers. Nowadays, people use sprinklers also for curing. This is what the slip form paver. What you are seeing in this picture is slip form paver. Slip form paver. Slip form paver. You can see the other view. Other view. Now what is this? The bottom surface is DLC. Over the DLC, this polythene sheet is spread as a separator. As a separator, right? So this is your PQC layer. The bottom one is DLC, and this is your sheet. Now this is what the construction. See, we can see the slip form paver. A tipper with a concrete mix has come, and it is dumping the load in front of the paver, right? Here also you can see unloading. The concrete is unloading in front of the paver. This is another view. Then comes here in this picture, you are seeing a loader, but people use the backhoes, right? What is this loader in this picture is doing? The mix is spread across the width of the paver, right? That is what this loader or excavator or the backhoe supposed to do. On the mix, the mix is spread across the paver. And in this figure, you can see the string lines. String lines. What is this? Sensor. Sensor. This is what the levels you are feeding to the paver. And based on this reference, you get your profile. String lines. Right? What is sensors? So what is this? The double bars in the stock. And you can see the paver itself, slip form paver itself, automatically inserts the double bars at your predetermined location and predetermined depth. Checking the what is called the double bar after insertion, the depth, and even they are checking what is the depth of double bars. All some QC checks, quality control checks. Tie bar is also inserted mechanically. So you can see these are the bar inserters. Right? This is oscillating bar. What you can see is oscillating bar. Behind the tie bar inserter, this is tie bars are inserted, and this is the oscillating bar. And you can see this is the smoothener. Smoothener. Paver is moving. This is behind the screen. So smoothener. Then comes this is what you can see is the bridge. After the smoothener also, float also, so here and there are chances that you may find some stones, etc., etc. A manual intervention may be required. So this bridge helps for a mason to attend any minor. Not desirable, but if at all, if there is any. So this is what the smoothener. The PQC surface looks after the smoothener. After that, what is that? You can see a curing compound, spraying of curing compound, right? This is also some curing compound. See, you can see even texturing, all done mechanically. I was telling sheds are also placed. Why this shed? To control the temperature. Control the temperature. See, this is mobile shed. Here is your paver, right? So temperature is controlled, right? Cloth is also placed. So after that, you can see the hessian cloth curing. These are the photos from the Hubli, Belgaum, Maharashtra border. These photos are from Belgaum, Maharashtra border when it was constructed few years back. So again, curing is done, right? After, I mean, maybe about 8 to 10 hours, or depending upon the site situations, the joints are cut, contraction joints, initial cut, later the further jointing, cutting is to be done. So cutters, and then the cleaning, and then the fixing, the cut, initial cut. Later, this is second cut. So this is how it looks. The first cut was this, and second cut done later, and this is how it looks. After that, you are sealing the joints, cleaning and sealing the joints, right? This is how a finished surface looks like, PQC. Right. Now, I'll take another 10 minutes and wind up. The construction of concrete using slip form paver, whatever we have seen. What is that? What are the steps? Clean the DLC surface with the compressor or a mechanical broom, or even manually. Mark the boundaries of the paving width. Spread the separation member. You have seen in the picture, that plastic polythene sheet. Spread the separation member with an overlap of 300 mm. Fix the pegs at 5 meters center to center on both sides at a fixed distance from the pavement edge. You can see that you have seen the pegs, right? These are the pegs. These are the pegs. These are the pegs. This is the string line. So try this, fix these pegs at 5 meters interval at a distance away from the pavement edge, at a fixed distance. Preferably, it should be away so that your machines and the paving is not get disturbed. Otherwise, your level gets disturbed. You will not get the surface, good profile. The stringe lines and the pegs, definitely they are not to be disturbed at all. The entire profile depends on that. If that get disturbed, your profile definitely get disturbed. So it should be away from the surface at a fixed distance. Fixing stringe line at a fixed height above the, you have seen the stringe line. So fix the stringe line at a fixed height above the proposed pavement surface. Start the chilling plant in the plant well in advance so that you get chilled water. Why chilled water? To control the temperature of the mix. Check the batching plant, your concrete batching plant, for all its functions. Keep the requisite number of dumpers, that is your tippers, ready for cleaning and batching at the PQC paver for all its functions. Position PQC paver at the starting points. Fix the position of tie bar inserters in the PQC paver. Also feed necessary details in the computer regarding spacing of tie bars, etc. Check with masons, skilled workers, etc. whether they have everything, yeah, they are ready. Position a trained engineer in the front of the paver, the operator, uh, to guide the dumper during reversing. Keep the quality control tools such as your slump test operators, cube molds, beam molds ready, both at the site and the batching plant. Fill the double bar tray with the double bars in the machine, tie bar inserter with the tie bars. Start the production of concrete. What is that? Now your plant, the paver is completely ready. Your plant is started now. Start the production of concrete. Transport the mix in the dumpers, and on reaching the site, reverse the dumper to the front of the paver, unload the concrete in front of the paver at two locations, push the concrete using excavator or a wheel loader up to the paver screed, use the spreader to spread the concrete to the full width, start paver movement. After paving for at least 2-3 meters, paved concrete shall be compacted externally with a needle vibrator. Surface is finished manually. This is for initial start, right? Thereafter, manual finishing is not required. Paver itself does. Continue the paving. Insert the double bars at the marked position of the contraction joint or wherever required. The tie bars shall be automatically inserted at the specified spacing and the location. Check the paved layer behind the paver for any finishing required. Verticality of the sizes. In case of extra slump, support the edges with side shutters of 300-meter height. 1 second. One second, please. Check the paved layer behind the Check the paved layer behind the paver for any finishing required. Verticality of the side edges. In case of extra slump, support the edges with side shutters of 300-meter height. Finish the top surface wherever required using the working bridge. Start texturing of the concrete when it is fit to apply the brush. Curing shall follow immediately after texturing by spraying the curing compound. There are some precautions. Monitor the temperature, slump of the concrete received at the site. Cover the paved PQC layer with weather protection shed. That's what you have seen in the figure. Start initial cutting of the joints at about 8 to 10 hours. This is not Bible, so you have to be, this is site specific, generally about 8 to 10 hours after paving. Finish the paving by putting end stopper at the end of finishing. Last 1-2 meters manually using needle vibrators. The starting and the last points are very crucial because manual intervention will be there. Okay. So keep the surface moist with the wet hosine cloth. Do the final cutting of the joints after 15 days. Fill the joints with sealants. Open to the traffic after joints are completed. Right. So this is a finished concrete surface. You can see the pegs and the fringe line. Right. So these are some specifications you can refer to. So thank you. Now, any clarifications? You can ask the clarifications